Chioma sprinted through the bustling lobby of St. Augustine's Hospital, her heart hammering as loudly as the rain beating against the glass facade. Each hurried step echoed on the polished marble floor. She glanced down at her phone. 9:02 a.m. Obinna was already 2 minutes late. She bit her lip, smoothing the soft fabric of her flowing emerald maternity dress. The traffic this morning had been unbearable, but she'd left home in plenty of time. Her mind darted from one worry to the next. Was the baby okay? Had she remembered all her paperwork? Why wouldn't Obinna answer his phone? "Good morning," chirped the receptionist behind the counter, offering a practiced smile. Chioma managed a weak return before fumbling through her purse. I'm here for my 10 o'clock prenatal checkup with Dr. Yinka. Chioma Okoye? Her voice trembled slightly. The receptionist tapped on the keyboard. Ms. Okoye, you can have a seat in the waiting area, please. Dr. Yinka will be with you soon. She gestured to the cluster of plastic chairs. Chioma sank into the first empty seat, smoothing the crease in her dress. Across from her, a nervous young woman clutched a crumpled package of cookies, tears glistening in her eyes. Chioma offered her a soft smile. "First baby?" The other woman nodded, her head bobbing. "Yes, please don't mind me. I'm so nervous." "You're in good hands," Chioma reassured her. "Dr. Yinka is wonderful." The other woman sniffed. "Thank you." They sat in companionable silence as Chioma scanned the room, shelves of outdated magazines, buzzing fluorescent lights, the distant hum of a television showing a medical drama. Her gaze drifted to the entrance every few seconds. Obinna had promised to be here at 9:30. They were supposed to call a photographer afterward for their gender reveal announcement. And now nothing. Her phone vibrated. She snatched it up, heart leaping. "Obinna?" Her voice was tight with relief. "Hey, Chio. Sorry, traffic's insane. I'm almost there." His tone was apologetic, but tinged with excitement. "Let's try for 10:15? She drew in her breath. "Okay. Please be careful." She ended the call and exhaled, her shoulders sagging. He was on his way. The thought should have calmed her, but instead she felt a hollow ache. A nurse poked her head out of the examination room. "Chioma Okoye?" "Here." Chioma rose, smoothing her dress one last time. She followed the nurse down a narrow hallway. As they passed a window overlooking the city, she caught her reflection, her dark skin glowing against the hospital's muted palette, her round belly the undeniable center of her world. Today was supposed to be joyful. Instead, dread twisted in her chest. The nurse opened the door and gestured inside. "Make yourself comfortable. Dr. Yinka will be with you shortly." Chioma nodded, stepping into the small examination room. She settled on the vinyl-covered chair, crossing her legs. The door clicked shut behind her. Outside, the busy hospital thrummed on, but here, in the sterile stillness, time felt suspended. She closed her eyes and imagined Obinna joining her. He'd cradle her growing belly, whisper how much he loved her and their baby. She smiled at the memory of his warm hands, the way he'd kiss her temple. "Come on," she whispered to herself, willing him here. "Please." The door cracked open before her thoughts could wander further. A gentle knock and the nurse slipped in. "Blood pressure first, please." Chioma held out her arm, allowing the cuff to inflate. She watched the gauge climb, her pulse thudding faster than the numbers. Suddenly, a sound in the hallway froze her blood colder than the antiseptic air. Muffled laughter, the scrape of elegant heels against the linoleum. Chioma's eyes snapped open. The nurse eyed her. "Everything okay?" she murmured, concern creasing her brow. I think someone's here," Chioma whispered, voice barely audible. The nurse followed her gaze through the frosted glass panel of the door. Chioma's breath hitched as she recognized the broad shoulders of Obinna, but something was off. He wasn't alone. A slender woman in a crimson-sheathed dress slipped her hand into his. The crisp collar of Obinna's suit and the lockstep confidence in his walk screamed power and privilege, but the private intimacy between them cut deeper. Obinna's laughter danced through the corridor, low and intimate. Chioma's heart convulsed. The other woman, Vanessa, tilted her head, her hair bouncing with the movement. They paused beneath a fluorescent light, their heads close as they whispered. Then she brushed a stray lock of hair behind her ear and squeezed Obinna's hand. His chest rose and fell in a slow, happy rhythm. Inside, Chioma's world went silent. The cuff released with a soft whoosh. The gauge read 140/90. The nurse's sharp intake of breath shattered the hush. That's elevated. Chioma barely registered the words. Her vision blurred as she struggled to stand, her legs weak. She clutched the back of the chair. Everything felt unreal. Obinna had never held another woman's hand like that, certainly not in front of her. The door swung open. The nurse's helpful voice cut through the haze. "Ms. Okoye? Are you all right?" She steadied Chioma's elbow. "Maybe you should sit." Chioma sank back into the chair, eyes fixed on the spot where they had stood. Vanessa's bright laugh still echoed in her ears. She wanted to call out, demand an explanation, but tears blurred her vision, and raw shock lodged in her throat. "Let me get you some water." The nurse hurried out as Chioma fumbled for her phone. She had to see the photo. She had to have proof. Her trembling fingers unlocked the screen, but before she could navigate to his messages, the door opened again. Dr. Yinka stepped in, clipboard in hand, unaware of the scene that had just unfolded. Chioma swallowed hard, hiding her phone. She plastered on a small smile. "Good morning, doctor." Dr. Yinka's warm brown eyes met hers. "Morning, Chioma. Let's take a look." She moved with practiced ease, placing the Doppler probe on Chioma's rounded belly, searching for their baby's heartbeat. A moment later, the gentle thump-thump-thump filled the room. Chioma blinked, tears threatening to spill. Her daughter, her perfect little girl, was okay. Dr. Yinka glanced up. "Beautiful rhythm. Everything looks good here." Then her brow furrowed as she noticed the dropped oxygen mask and the half-empty water cup on the counter. "Are you feeling all right? Your blood pressure was a bit high." Chioma forced a steadying breath. "I'm fine," she insisted, voice small. The doctor guided her to the small examination table and helped her lie back. "Let me take it again." She wrapped the cuff around Chioma's arm. The numbers climbed even higher, 150/95. The beep sounded, and Chioma gasped. Dr. Yinka frowned. "This is concerning. Stress can be dangerous for both you and the baby." She pressed a gloved hand gently to Chioma's arm. "Talk to me. What's going on?" Chioma's head swam. She should tell Dr. Yinka what she saw, how Obinna had the nerve to parade his mistress through these halls. But her voice caught. Instead, she whispered, "I'm worried about the baby." Dr. Yinka softened. "I understand. But worry is one thing. We need to manage this. I'm going to have a nurse administer a low-dose antihypertensive, and I want you to stay here for an hour. No texting, no phone calls, just rest." She shot a quick glance at the door. "I'll check on you soon." As the nurse hurried in with a small vial, Chioma closed her eyes. Each drip of medicine into her fore felt like water on embers, dulling the burn of betrayal. Her mind reeled back to the corridor. Vanessa's perfectly painted nails, the way she leaned into Obinna's side as if claiming territory. The nurse tapped her shoulder. "Here we go." Chioma nodded, her body sinking into the thin mattress. She stared at the ceiling tiles, willing her heart to stop racing. Her world had fractured in that hallway, but her baby's steady heartbeat reminded her that there was more at stake than her wounded pride. She would survive this. For her child's sake. Dr. Yinka re-entered, her expression gentle but firm. "How are you feeling?" She checked the monitor. Chioma's blood pressure had dipped but remained elevated. "Better," Chioma murmured, though her voice sounded distant. The doctor sat on the stool beside the bed. "Chioma, I need you to understand. Emotional stress can trigger preeclampsia and other complications. You must avoid situations that threaten your well-being." Chioma's throat tightened. "It was nothing," she insisted, but her words tasted bitter. Dr. Yinka leaned forward. "Would you like to tell me what happened? It's confidential." She set aside her clipboard, waiting patiently. A A single tear escaped Chioma's eye. She swallowed, looking away at the pale green curtains. I saw my husband, holding hands, with another woman, in the hallway. The words tumbled out, each one heavy with grief. I froze, and then my blood pressure shot up. Dr. Yinka reached out, squeezing her hand. I'm so sorry. That must have been devastating. She exhaled slowly. It's understandable you reacted that way. But right now, your baby's health is priority, so is yours. Chioma shook her head. I can't just ignore it. The doctor's eyes were kind but steely. You don't have to ignore it, but you must deal with it safely. Take time off work, limit contact with Obinna until you can talk calmly or seek mediation. And no more surprises in the hospital corridors. Chioma nodded, chin trembling. Thank you, doctor. I'll try. Dr. Yinka offered a small, encouraging smile. I want you to come back in 2 days, and we'll monitor you again. In the meantime, if you feel overwhelmed, call me directly. Don't bottle this up. As Dr. Yinka left, Chioma stared at the door, determination settling like concrete in her chest. She owed it to her baby and to herself to handle this with strength. The path ahead was murky, but she refused to be swept away by the current of Obinna's betrayal. That evening, Chioma returned to the penthouse suite they shared on Victoria Island. The foyer was silent except for the soft hum of the air conditioner. She placed her keys on the mahogany console and paused, steeling herself. The living room lights were low, casting elongated shadows on the cream walls. A single goblet of red wine sat on the coffee table. Obinna must have been here earlier. Chioma? His voice called from the kitchen, casual. She stepped into the room. Obinna appeared in a crisp white dress shirt, sleeves rolled up. His smile was warm but hollow. You're back early. Chioma swallowed. I didn't feel safe walking alone in traffic, she said, unraveling her scarf. He tilted his head. You could have called. He set down his glass and approached. From this angle, she could see the faint imprint of the engagement ring on his finger. She wanted to snatch it off, but controlled herself. I'm fine now, she lied, voice steady. Did you have dinner? He frowned. I thought we'd skip it tonight. You know, with everything. He waved a hand. With your checkup and all. Chioma's chest tightened. Right. Silence stretched between them. He cleared his throat. Listen, about this morning, he trailed off, searching her face. She met his eyes, refusing to flinch. There's nothing to talk about, she said, voice calm but icy. Obinna's jaw tightened. Chioma, please. She held up a hand. No. I don't want apologies. I want honesty. He blinked, taken aback. I have nothing to confess. His tone snapped. We had a business associate over for coffee. That's all. She studied him, occasionally glimpsing the way his Adam's apple bobbed. With hands, she stated it plainly. He exhaled. She's a client. I was showing her the showroom. His eyes flicked to the wine glass. Do you want a drink? Chioma shook her head. She had no appetite. Instead, she moved toward the window overlooking the Lagos skyline, rain-soaked streets glowing amber under the streetlights. You could have introduced me, she said softly, but you didn't. Obinna closed the distance, placing a hand on her shoulder. It wasn't like that. She turned to face him. Her dark eyes shone with quiet fury. Then start acting like someone I can trust. His expression faltered. Chioma. She cut him off. I'd planned our gender reveal photo shoot with you by my side. I wanted us to share that moment. But you stood there with her. Her voice cracked, tears gleaming. You promised. He reached for her, but she stepped back. This is enough for tonight. She moved toward the bedroom door. Over her shoulder she whispered, We'll talk later. Obinna watched her go, the swell of regret crossing his face. In the hush of their empty home, Chioma felt something inside her break free, a spark of resolve. She would not be defined by his betrayal. Tomorrow, she would call Dr. Yinka. She would find her strength, and she would protect her baby, no matter the cost. Chioma tossed her keys onto the console table and collapsed onto the edge of the bed, her mind a whirlwind of betrayals and broken promises. She stared at Obinna's phone, left carelessly unlocked on the nightstand. For days she'd resisted the urge to pry, until this morning's corridor shock had driven her beyond fear. Now, trembling fingers tapped at the screen. A barrage of messages lit up the display. Sweet nothings from V, punctuated by heart eye emojis, invoices for lavish dinners, and a screenshot of 2 boarding passes for a weekend getaway to Paris. Her breath hitched. Vanessa's name was stamped on every transaction. Chioma's world constricted to the size of that tiny screen. She scrolled through text threads, each message a dagger. V. Can't wait to see you tonight. Handsome winking face. Obinna. Counting down the minutes, baby. Meet you at 8. A knot of rage and sorrow coiled in her stomach. Had he been planning this while she lay vulnerable at her checkup? She hesitated over another thread, a voice note from Vanessa. Vanessa, voice, you're the sweetest, Obi. I've never felt so special. You're my world. Chioma pressed play, her heart pounding to the rhythm of Vanessa's flirtatious laughter. She nearly dropped the phone when Obinna's voice responded off mic, low and affectionate. The recording ended abruptly, but its sting lingered. Tears welled in her eyes. She clutched the phone to her chest. This evidence, proof that he'd lied to her, to their friends, even to his mother, felt like a weapon she'd finally found. A plan began to form. She wouldn't confront him here, not yet. She needed more, names, dates, proof she could use. A knock at the door startled her. She dropped the phone into the bedsheets and smoothed her face. Dr. Yinka stepped in, concern etched on her features. Chioma, how are you feeling? Better, Chioma lied, steadying her voice. The doctor crossed to the window and peered out at the slick street below. I came by to check in, and to bring you something. She held up a small folder of sonogram photos. Your little girl is growing strong. Chioma forced a smile, accepting the folder. Thank you, doctor. Her voice cracked. She swallowed. I'm just processing a lot. Dr. Yinka placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. I understand. If you need time away from him, from everything, take it. Your health and the babies are paramount. Chioma's throat tightened. I will. I just need a moment. As Dr. Yinka left, Chioma exhaled and retrieved the phone. She tapped the calendar app. Next week Obinna was out of town on business. Perfect. She bookmarked this weekend to interrogate him. But first, she would unearth the full extent of his betrayal. That night, she lay in the dark, Obinna's phone illuminating her determined expression. Outside, the city lights blinked like distant stars. And Chioma whispered into the silence, If you think you can break me, you haven't met me yet. Rain drummed against the windshield as Chioma sat in the back of her car, the address from Obinna's messages glowing on her screen. 42, Bordelin Street, an upscale complex known for its discreet penthouses. She'd booked a driver under the pretense of an errand. No one needed to know the truth. Just past the gate, she instructed, voice low. The security booth's neon sign there beaconed through the downpour. Behind the glass, a guard raised an eyebrow at her soaked silhouette but waved them through. The foyer was silent, marble columns rising to a vaulted ceiling. She slipped inside, coat dripping onto the floor tiles. The doorman nodded, offering a curt good evening before returning to his post. Tension coiled in her chest as she made her way to the elevator, apartment numbers engraved on polished brass plates. At 42B, Chioma's breath caught. She pressed the call button. No answer. Using the small screwdriver she'd borrowed from her toolkit at home, she gently popped the latch. It clicked open, the door swinging on silent hinges. Inside, light spilled from sleek floor lamps onto plush cream carpeting. A monogrammed throw pillow, V, rested on a designer couch. Chioma's pulse quickened. She stepped in, water pooling around her heels, and flicked on more lamps. Expensive art lined the walls, abstract pieces in gold frames, a sculptural vase of fresh orchids. She moved carefully, heels clicking, to a low console. On it lay a scattering of Vanessa's belongings, a black leather clutch embossed with the same V, a diamond-studded compact, and a receipt for 2 nights at the Ritz-Carlton. Obinna had bankrolled this. Chioma paused before tucking a strand of her hair behind her ear. She snapped a photo of the receipt. A sound behind her, a soft click. She whipped around. In the dim corridor beyond the living room, she saw a silhouette. Heart hammering, she spun back, grabbing the clutch. But the figure emerged, a slender woman in a robe, her hair disheveled. Fear and recognition froze Chioma mid-step. Chioma? Vanessa's voice trembled, half curiosity, half panic. What are you doing here? Caught. Chioma inhaled. I could ask you the same. She held up the clutch. I think this is yours. Vanessa crossed her arms, defensiveness flaring. You have no right. I have every right. Chioma interrupted, voice steady. This is our home. Or, is it yours now? She tapped the receipt in her pocket. Tell me how much we've spent on your weekend trips. Vanessa's jaw clenched. You're crazy. Get out. I will, Chioma said softly. After you explain. She snapped another photo. My lawyer will want every detail. Vanessa's shoulders sank. The bravado drained. You'll ruin me. Chioma studied her. The mascara smudged under her eyes, the tremor of her lower lip. She swallowed. I'm not here for vengeance. She set the clutch down. I need answers. Why did you help him lie? Vanessa's eyes flickered with shame. Because he begged me. Because I loved him. Her voice cracked. I thought he loved me, too. Chioma's chest tightened. Tell me when it started. Vanessa hesitated, then whispered. About 6 months ago. After your second trimester. Chioma closed her eyes, the world tilting. You destroyed my trust, and almost my health. Her voice softened. But I'm still standing. She turned toward the door. Next time, do him a favor. Stay away. As she exited, footsteps pounded behind her. She glanced back in time to see Vanessa collapse to her knees, burying her face in her hands. Chioma paused, offering a moment's pity before slipping into the night. The rain had ceased. Above, the city hummed, oblivious to the secrets buried inside 42B. Chioma was halfway through unpacking boxes of sonogram photos and baby clothes the next morning when the doorbell rang. She frowned. No one had her new address. She peeked through the peephole and froze. Mama Ikeen, resplendent in a gold-embroidered buba and iro, pearls gleaming against her dark skin, handbag in hand. Reluctantly, Chioma opened the door. Mama Ikeen. Her mother-in-law swept past, nose in the air. I heard you've taken to living here? She surveyed the minimalist decor with thinly veiled disdain. This is hardly suitable for a child. Chioma guided her to the sitting area. Please have a seat. Can I get you tea? Mama settled on the sofa, heels clicking. Chioma, daughter, I'm here because your husband called in a panic. She arched a sharply plucked brow. He's distraught. Says you've run off. Her lips curled. Is that true? Chioma folded her hands. I needed time to think. About our marriage. Mama, Ikeen huffed. You've always been too headstrong. She leaned forward, voice dropping. In my day, a good woman kept her husband happy and her place. He's the man of the house. She shook her head. I warned you when you married Obinna, laziness of character. Her words stung. Mama, I'm pregnant. I deserve respect. Mama Ikeen's gaze turned steely. Respect is earned. You've neglected your duties. And now you embarrass us both. She tapped her manicured finger on the armrest. Return home. Apologize. Be a proper wife. Anger flared in Chioma's chest, but she bit back a retort. Instead, she pressed her palms together. Mama, I'm building something, my own business, my own identity for our child. I refuse to be silenced. Mama Ikeen laughed, a hollow, brittle sound. Your own identity? Please. You're nothing without a man's name. She rose, smoothing her wrapper. When you come to your senses, Obinna will be waiting. Chioma watched her leave, face rigid. As the front door clicked shut, she sank onto the couch, tears stinging. Mama Ekin's venom was worse than Vanessa's betrayal. It cut deep, questioning her worth as a woman, a mother. But in that silent apartment, Chioma made a vow. She would prove them all wrong. Her strength would not be measured by a husband's faithfulness, nor her value by her in-laws' approval. She would build her legacy on her own terms. Before dawn's first light, Chioma slipped out of bed, careful not to wake the chauffeur she'd hired to deliver samples of her baby boutique fabrics to potential vendors. She packed a small overnight bag, fresh clothes, her laptop, the folder of sonograms, and Obinna's phone, loaded with all the evidence she'd amassed. On the kitchen counter, she left a single letter addressed to Dr. Yinka. By the time the chauffeur arrived, Chioma was gone. The apartment was silent, save for the hum of the refrigerator. The letter lay open, the envelope torn. Dr. Yinka, I'm taking our baby's future into my own hands. I can't stay where I'm not respected or safe. I'll be in touch soon in court if necessary. Chioma. At 7:15 a.m., Obinna awoke to an empty bed. He called out. No answer. His phone lay on the nightstand, dead battery. He fumbled in the dark, panic prickling his skin. Checking his messages, he found dozens of missed texts and calls from Chioma's number. He dialed frantically, but the call went straight to voicemail. He burst into the living room. The letter. He tore it open, eyes scanning greedily, but his heart sank with each line. He sank onto the couch, head in his hands. The apartment felt cavernous without her presence. By 8 a.m., he was pacing outside the concierge desk, brandishing the letter. My wife, Chioma, has disappeared. Have you seen her? Security guards exchanged worried glances. The concierge shook his head. No, sir. She left early. The driver came without her. Obinna's breath came in short gasps. She took my phone, he muttered. She took everything. Meanwhile, across town, Chioma stepped out of a taxi in front of a squat rental house, an address scribbled in her notebook. She'd secured a short-term lease in her own name. Her heart pounded as she slipped inside and bolted the door. In that small room, she allowed herself her first moment of relief. She was safe. Back at the penthouse, Obinna called Vanessa. Her tone was disdainful. He's overreacting, she said. Likely she's just making a scene. He didn't dare tell her he couldn't reach her. Instead, he ended the call and dialed Dr. Yinka. At the clinic, the doctor's nurse answered. Dr. Yinka isn't in yet. Obinna left a hoarse message. Please tell Chioma to call me. I love her. As the day wore on, reporters caught wind of Chioma's disappearance. News of the scandal broke across social media. #WhereIsChioma trending. Obinna's phone buzzed relentlessly with texts from friends, family, and fans, demanding answers. But Chioma was unreachable. And in her safe house, she poured herself a glass of water and opened her laptop. The first step of her new empire awaited, launching her brand's website, built on the bedrock of her pain and resilience. As she typed the last line of her mission statement, born from betrayal, destined for greatness, a notification pinged, an email from a journalist requesting an interview. The world was listening. She smiled, determined. It was time to rewrite her story on her own terms. By late afternoon, Obinna was a wreck. He'd notified the police, hired investigators, and even pleaded with Mama Ekin for help. But the woman he needed most, his wife, was gone. His sister, Adora, arrived breathless at the penthouse. Obinna, what happened? She demanded as he led her to the living room, strewn with unanswered calls and legal documents. She left me, he whispered sunken-eyed. No note. Nothing but that letter. He handed Adora the crumpled page. Adora read the letter, shock registering on her face. This is serious. We need to find her, and fast. She's pregnant. Obinna rubbed his temples. I know. He sank into a chair. But where do we start? Adora cleared her throat. What do you know? Any clue where she went? Obinna opened his phone's gallery, swiping through pictures of the secret apartment, the messages. I deleted that thread, he admitted, voice cracked. I thought it would make her forgive me. Adora's eyes widened. This is bigger than I thought. She dialed the investigator. Get every CCTV camera ping in the last 24 hours. Trace any taxi rides. No one leaves Lagos unnoticed. Meanwhile, at Dr. Yinka's clinic, the doctor scanned her messages. Multiple calls from Obinna. A text from Adora. She frowned, unsettled by Chioma's note. She rifled through her own files. Chioma had never mentioned this rental address. Concern etched on her face. She tapped out a response. Chioma, if you see this, call me. I'm worried about you. But no answer came. As night fell, Obinna stood on the balcony of his penthouse, the city lights twinkling around him like judgmental eyes. He whispered into the darkness, Chioma, please come home. Below, his phone buzzed with one final alert, a news push notification. Expectant mother vanishes amid scandal. Social media erupts. Obinna stared at the screen, dread pooling in his gut. The search had only just begun, and he was running out of time. Chioma stepped into the modest two-bedroom flat that Dr. Yinka's sister, Toby, had offered her. A single potted plant on the windowsill and a worn wooden desk were the only furnishings, but to Chioma it felt more like home than the penthouse ever had. Toby, a soft-spoken graphic designer, bustled about, unpacking a box of baby clothes and sonogram photos. I'm so glad you're here, Toby said, arranging pastel onesies on a makeshift rack. I've cleared my schedule for the next month. Anything you need. Chioma ran a hand over her belly. Thank you, Toby. Honestly, I don't know what I'd do without you. She sank onto the small couch. I've been thinking nonstop. I can't just hide. I need a plan. Toby nodded, pulling a laptop onto the desk. Let's map it out. She opened a fresh document. Step 1. Secure your finances. Step 2. Launch your brand. Step 3. Build an audience so Obinna can't ignore you. Chioma's eyes brightened despite her exhaustion. I have some savings set aside, just enough to register the business and prototype a few designs. She clicked through her notes. I want to create organic cotton baby wraps inspired by traditional Nigerian prints. Something modern, but rooted in our culture. Toby grinned. That's brilliant. Unique value. And I can help with the branding, logo, website, social media. She sketched a rough monogram on a notepad. Chioma's cradle. And I'll need a manufacturer, Chioma added. I've talked to a seamstress in Acadia. She can do small batches. They worked late into the night, outlining product lines, drafting email templates for potential collaborators, and selecting names. At 2 a.m., Chioma sank back, rubbing her temples. This feels empowering. Toby smiled. You're taking control. You're safe here, and we'll face the world together. Chioma closed her eyes, imagining a future where her name, Chioma Okoye, stood for quality, resilience, and joy. For the first time in weeks, she felt hope unfurl inside her, knitting the pieces of her fractured life into something new and unbreakable. The CAC, Corporate Affairs Commission, office buzzed with fluorescent lights and murmured conversations. Chioma stood in line clutching her folder of documents, identification, proof of address, her draft memorandum, and articles of association. Each step felt surreal. At the counter, an officious clerk, Mr. Ahmed, peered at her application. Your proposed name, Chioma's Cradle, is descriptive. You understand there's a chance someone else might claim it. Chioma squared her shoulders. I'll take that risk. It's my baby's cradle, my legacy. Mr. Ahmed raised an eyebrow, but stamped her form. Fees are settled. Come back in 3 hours for your certificate. Outside, she exhaled, the Lagos sun warming her skin. Toby greeted her with bottled water. How'd it go? Chioma beamed. They accepted it. Certificate arrives this afternoon. She tapped her temple. Next, secure a domain, set up a bank account. They headed to a small internet cafe. Chioma registered www.chiomascradled.ng and created an email, info@kyomascradle.ng. As she typed the business registration number into the bank's mobile app, her hand trembled. I can't believe this is real. That evening, back at Toby's flat, they hosted a mini launch party over Zoom with a handful of early supporters, friends, former coworkers, even Dr. Yinka. Each offered congratulations and promised to spread the word. "I'm proud of you," Dr. Yinka said, beaming on screen. "You're turning your pain into purpose." Chioma's eyes glistened. "I'm not just building a brand, I'm building my future." As the call ended, Chioma opened her laptop to review mock UPS of baby wraps adorned with Ankara patterns. Each design felt like a declaration. She would not be defined by his betrayal. She was an entrepreneur, a mother, a force to be reckoned with. Obinna's mornings once began with espresso and market updates. Now they began with frenzy. His phone exploded with alerts. Scandal rocks Lagos elite. Hashtag Chioma's cradle trending. Wife turned entrepreneur stuns city. CEO Obinna Okoye accused of infidelity. Public opinion divided. He slumped behind his mahogany desk, scrolling through news feeds. A viral image showed him and Vanessa in the hospital corridor, captured by a hidden paparazzo. Vanessa's gleaming smile, and his hand still clasped around hers. They were everywhere. The door to his office burst open. "Boss, your partners are here." His COO, Kunnel, ushered in two grim-faced investors. "Obinna, we need to talk," one said, folding his arms. "Your name is mired in scandal. Our board meeting was supposed to finalize the merger next week. Now they're hesitating." Obinna closed his eyes. "Give me a chance to." The other investor cut him off. "Trust is everything in business. Right now you're too distracted." Behind them, his phone buzzed again, a direct message from Vanessa. "They're all talking about us. What do we do?" He stared at the screen, heart sinking. With a curt nod, he stood. "I'll call you tomorrow." The investors filed out, leaving him alone with the echo of their footsteps. He sank into his chair, head in his hands. His empire, built over decades, was fracturing. Each leaked photo, each viral hashtag chipped away at his credibility. And Chioma's brand, her brand, was rising on the wings of his downfall. His reflection in the window looked older, haunted. "What have I done?" he whispered. The city's pulse continued outside, indifferent to the man unraveling within its glass towers. Vanessa paced her penthouse suite overlooking the lagoon, phone clutched in her hand. Text after text from Obinna went unanswered. Finally, she dialed him. "Obinna, pick up," she snapped when he did. His voice was tired. "What now?" She pressed the phone to her ear as she applied dark red lipstick. "I can't keep living like this, always in the shadows. Either you make a public commitment, engagement, proposal, something, or I walk." He ran a hand through his hair. "Vi, please. Not now. I'm dealing with complications." "Complications?" She laughed, disbelief dripping from her tone. "My entire career is complications right now, and I'm managing just fine." She pivoted to look at her reflection. "You promised me forever. But forever doesn't include a wife on the side." He sighed. "All right. Let's meet at the jeweler's in Ikoyi at 6. I'll put a ring on your finger." Vanessa's eyes glittered. "Good. Don't be late." She hung up, a triumphant smile playing on her lips. At 6 sharp, Obinna stepped into the quiet showroom of Elegance Jewels. The owner, Madame Tund, greeted him warmly. Vanessa swept in moments later, her heels clicking. "Show me the best," she commanded, flinging her hair back. As Obinna presented a 3-carat diamond ring, Vanessa slipped it on and admired its sparkle. "Perfect," she purred. "We'll announce our engagement next week. Photos, videos, the works." Obinna's chest tightened. He wanted to pull her aside, tell her this was a mistake. But he swallowed the guilt. "Whatever you want." Outside, flashes from paparazzi cameras caught the moment, another scandalous headline waiting to explode. Bright streamers fluttered across the open-air pop-up showroom Chioma had rented in Lekki. Pastel balloons clustered by the entrance, and a long table displayed neatly folded baby wraps in pink and blue prints. A small stage bore a sign. Chioma's cradle gender reveal. Influencers and friends gathered, phones at the ready. Toby adjusted Chioma's sash. "Mama Bear." Dr. Yinka beamed from the front row. Chioma stood at the center, her heart pounding. A camera crew live-streamed the event to thousands online. Moderators in the comments exploded with excitement. Hashtag Team Pink versus hashtag Team Blue. She tapped the microphone. Thank you all for coming today. As many of you know, her voice grew firm. This brand was born from betrayal, but also from resilience. Today, I'm proud to announce not only the gender of my baby, but also our mission, empowering mothers everywhere. She and Toby grasped a giant confetti cannon. On Chioma's count 3, 2, 1, they pulled the trigger. A burst of pastel pink confetti rained down. Cheers erupted, both in the showroom and online. Back at his apartment, Obinna saw the live stream notification. Chioma's cradle reveals baby girl. His stomach lurched. He watched as Chioma, glowing in a white embroidered dress, held up a pink onesie embroidered with Princess Ada. The view count soared past 50,000 in minutes. Comments flooded. She's a queen. I'm crying happy tears. Obinna, you lost more than just a wife. Chioma smiled radiantly at the camera. Welcome to the world, Princess Ada. She turned to the audience. Follow our journey at Chioma's cradle. Together, we'll celebrate every mother's strength. Obinna's phone glowed with missed calls from investors and Vanessa begging him to join her engagement announcement. But he couldn't tear his eyes away from Chioma's beaming face. In that moment, he realized she had captured something far more powerful than any boardroom deal or diamond ring. She had captured hearts. And as pink confetti drifted in the Lagos breeze, the world watched a betrayed wife rise and glow, privately, but shine universally. The moment Chioma stepped onto the small stage to thank her guests, a ripple ran through the crowd. Obinna was standing at the foot of the platform, drenched in the late afternoon drizzle, his tailored blazer clutched in one hand. Flashbulbs popped as journalists and influencers snapped photos. Chioma's heartbeat thundered as he climbed the few steps, slipping the microphone from her fingers. Chioma, he began, voice raw. Please, just hear me out. His gaze swept the assembled faces, their expectant silence heavier than any boardroom meeting. I know I don't deserve this, but I've lost more than just my reputation. I've lost you. Murmurs rose. Chioma's breath caught. The room tilted between sympathy and spectacle. She squared her shoulders. Obinna, she said, crystal clear, you showed up, but not for the right reasons. She turned back to the audience. This event is about new beginnings. Her tone was gentle but unyielding. I appreciate everyone who supports Chioma's cradle. Obinna's throat bobbed as he swallowed. He reached out, voice breaking. I'm sorry for betraying you, for endangering our baby. I'm begging you, let me help. She met his eyes for a heartbeat. Then she stepped away, offering a small, compassionate nod. Thank you for coming, she said, but I'm exactly where I need to be. Cheers erupted. Obinna stood frozen, camera lights dancing across his regret-etched face as security gently guided him off stage. That evening's live stream surged to 500,000 viewers as Chioma reclaimed the spotlight. Seated before an intimate circle of mothers and press, she spoke without hesitation. I was betrayed at my most vulnerable, she began, voice steady. But I chose to rise. This brand, Chioma's Cradle, is more than products. It's every woman who's been silenced, every mother who's been doubted. Reporters scribbled furiously as she wove anecdotes of her pregnancy scare, of tours through that secret apartment, and the moment she found the courage to leave. Dr. Yinka sat beside her, proud tears shimmering. A journalist raised a hand. Will you ever forgive Obinna? Chioma paused, considering. Forgiveness is a journey, but I've already forgiven myself for staying too long. Now I move forward. Clicks and clacks of keyboards tracked every word. By midnight, hashtag her legacy not his tragedy trended nationwide. Comments poured in. She spoke for all of us. Boss moves only. Across town, Obinna scrolled in stunned silence, each notification another reminder that Chioma's narrative had overtaken his own. In Vanessa's penthouse suite, once her proud sanctuary, She paced before a foggy floor-to-ceiling window. The engagement ring still sparkled on her finger, but its shine felt hollow. A group text from Obinna blinked. "I need space to sort things out." She dropped onto the velvet chaise, pressing her forehead into a cushion. "Space," she hissed. "After everything?" Her assistant, Kemi, stepped in cautiously. "Madam, are you okay?" Vanessa snatched off the ring and tossed it onto the glass coffee table. It shattered into diamonds across the marble. "I'm done playing second fiddle," she snapped. "Obinna's world is collapsing. He won't let me drag him down further." The next morning, the tabloid splashed, "Mistress dumped amid scandal." Photos of a tear-streaked Vanessa exiting Elegance Jewels circulated with glee. Obinna's phone buzzed. "You notorious player. You lost both of us." From Vanessa's number. He stared numbly at the message. The final nail had been driven. Vanessa walked away, and with her went the last tether to his old life. 3 months later, the grand opening of Chioma's Cradle flagship store in Lekki was a spectacle of pastel balloons, live drummers, and a ribbon stretched across gleaming glass doors. Chioma stood before local dignitaries, investors, and a crowd of young mothers, her daughter Ada strapped safely to her chest in a bespoke wrap. Mayor Adewale cut the ribbon as applause thundered. Inside, shelves lined with neatly folded wraps, swaddles, and nursing covers glowed under spotlights. Toby rushed to her side, handing her a champagne flute. "To new beginnings," Chioma toasted, smiling at Dr. Yinka across the aisle. "And to every woman who found her strength." A group of mothers approached, clutching phone cameras. "Your story inspired me," one said, eyes shining. "I'm starting my own design line." Chioma bent to cradle Ada. "That's the dream, for us to lift each other up." That afternoon, a business reporter cornered her for an interview. "What's next for Chioma's cradle?" She paused, scanning the bustling store. "Expansion, empowering single mothers with training programs, creating jobs." This is just the beginning. Outside, Obinna watched the live stream on his phone, jaw clenched. He realized that while he'd lost his empire's sheen, Chioma's star had only just begun to rise. 6 months later, Chioma glided down the same hospital corridor that once broke her heart, only now she wore a tailored pantsuit and confidence in every step. A staff member greeted her at the entrance. "Ms. Okoye, welcome." Dr. Yinka met her with a bouquet of pink orchids. "You look incredible." Chioma smiled, lifting Ada in her arms. "Thank you for inviting me back as a guest speaker." In the bright auditorium filled with expectant mothers, journalists, and healthcare workers, Chioma took the podium. Pink and white streamers framed a banner, "Strength in Motherhood," a conversation with Chioma Okoye. She began, "This hospital saved my baby and my soul. Today, I return not as a patient, but as proof that adversity can be a catalyst for greatness." She shared laughter with the audience, answered questions on maternal health and entrepreneurship, and unveiled a partnership between Chioma's Cradle and the hospital to provide free prenatal care packages. As she stepped off stage, Dr. Yinka joined her. "You've come full circle." Chioma knelt to kiss her daughter's forehead. "And this time, I hold that door open for every woman who walks through it, alone, expecting, but never powerless." A ripple of applause echoed through the hall. Outside, the Lego sun gleamed on the hospital's facade, echoing the bright future Chioma had forged, one step, one strength, one legacy at a time. The end.